everyone at Stamford Bridge having their opportunity to pay tribute to Pelé, and on all of the screens around Stamford Bridge, a black and white shot of a smiling Pelé in his Santos shirt, and the applause wholehearted. So Chelsea against Manchester City does look as though it's a back four, Chris, for Chelsea, the way that they're lining up. So Kepa in goal, Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Koulibaly and Cucurella, and then Kovacic and Zakaria, the two central midfielders. As the match begins, Chelsea kick off, blue shirts, blue shorts and white socks. And then beyond that, well, over on the right-hand side, it is Ziyech, and then Havertz and Sterling and Pulisic on the left-hand side. Yeah. So it's, what do we call that? Is it a 4-4-2?
I think they're more of a 4-2-3-1. It's interesting, it looks like Raheem Sterling is playing as the central striker with Havertz just off him, but I expect they'll dovetail with that. But Ziyech off the right and Pulisic off the left. We did wonder whether they would go to a back three.
Well, they have played with a back four in the two matches since the resumption. Against Bournemouth here, their only win in their last 7 league matches, and at Nottingham Forest at the weekend. So it is a back four again for Graham Potter. And Manchester City, 4 changes for them from the weekend. So Walker's back, Foden's back, Cancelo's back, and Gundogan as well. So Ederson in goal, back four of Walker, Stones, Ake and Cancelo. Then Rodri with De Bruyne and Gundogan the captain, either side of him. Bernardo Silva, Phil Foden, and then Erling Haaland through the middle. Erling Haaland, scorer of an astonishing 27 goals now this season, and he's failed to score in only 3 of 15 Premier League appearances for Manchester City. So Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. This is 5 Live from the BBC. Listen as well on BBC Sounds. And it is City who are playing from left to right in the first half, in the sky blue shirts, white shorts and blue socks. Chris Sutton?
Yeah, they've got an interesting setup. City as Ake marauding down the left-hand side, but looks like Cancelo in a right wing-back role. Means that they're a back three. Manchester City
with a stoppage in play because Raheem Sterling has gone down, starting against the club that he left in the last summer for the first time. Came on as a substitute when they played each other in the Carabao Cup before the World Cup, and Sterling looks as though he could be struggling here after only 2 minutes, Chris.
What a nightmare for Graham Potter, blimey. We've mentioned them before. Mount out, Chilwell out, James out. It's just coming together with John Stones, who just moves him off the ball, and he holds the back of his hamstring, doesn't he? His right hamstring. That's
well, that's it.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a medical expert, John. But
having injured my hamstring in Qatar, Chris.
Well, there we go, yeah.
That definitely brought it all back to me. And that did not look good for Raheem Sterling. So let's hope from a Chelsea point of view, from Raheem Sterling's point of view, that it was just a little twinge, just a little nerve thing. But that did not look good.
No, he's trying to just saying, hang on a minute, try and shake it off. Interesting, you compared yourself to Raheem Sterling in the hamstring. I was
comparing hamstrings as opposed to...
Yeah, the thing is, I don't... Yeah, you can't... As I say, I'm no medical expert, John, but you can't jog a hamstring off.
No, you can't. Well, he's gone off the field on the far side, Sterling. They've had a look at him. The 2 medical people are there with him. And he's walking now down the touchline. He's rubbing his hand in his hair. I think he's just having a feel of it as he's walking down the touchline to see how things are. So Chelsea are playing with 10 men for the time being. And actually, he might well be walking around the pitch. And Chelsea are going to have to make a change. That's what it looks like to me. Currently with 10 men, Manchester City with a ball at the back. It's played forward to De Bruyne. Here's Kevin De Bruyne on the right-hand side, goes for a long, high, cross-field pass. Foden's onto this, pulls it across on the volley. Brilliant, brilliant work. That long pass from De Bruyne was pinpoint, wasn't it? For the run of Foden into the area. He met it on the volley with his left foot, and Chelsea were able to clear away.
Yeah, and Phil Foden starting high up on that left-hand side. I think City are going to be fluid and adaptable with their formation as well. But Foden high up on that left-hand side, and it was a wonderful pass, arrowed from De Bruyne 50, 60 yards. Foden first time on the volley, but cleared by the Chelsea defence. And here's Aubameyang, John.
Yeah, that's it for Sterling. Well, rough luck for Raheem Sterling. He got back in the goals at the City Ground at the weekend. His first Premier League goal since August. He is Chelsea's top scorer this season, and that is it. He had to go off, only 2 minutes on the clock, and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is going to come on. Chelsea still currently playing with 10 men. Ball headed forward from the back for Manchester City. Rodri gives it to Cancelo. As Chris Sutton said, Cancelo on the right-hand side. Sterling has been able to walk around the pitch, and he's nearly now back towards the point where Graham Potter is standing on the edge of the coaching area, and then he'll be off down the tunnel. 0-0, very early stages on 5 Live. Ake playing it forward to Foden, and then Foden, who's making his first start since the World Cup. Kyle Walker's first appearance since the World Cup, since playing for England in Qatar. It's actually his first appearance, Kyle Walker, for Manchester City since the Manchester derby, when he actually picked up that injury initially that needed the operation. Bernardo Silva playing the ball back to goalkeeper Ederson, all in maroon tonight, getting the ball down, so comfortable. Aubameyang is on the field now, and here's Kovacic playing it infield for Havertz. He actually plays it back to Zakaria just forward of the centre circle. You can hear the reactions of that from the Chelsea supporters. Ball over the top for Chelsea, but that's an easy catch for Ederson.
Yeah, it wasn't negative from Havertz. Had an opportunity to drive forward and try and commit. Manchester City defender chose the easy option, and then Thiago Silva proceeded just to punt the ball long, and Manchester City back in possession.
So Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Manchester City on the tail of Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. Still got to play each other twice, City and Arsenal. The first match is on, it's actually a Champions League week. It's on February the 15th, 7:30 kickoff. Chelsea play that night in the Champions League in Germany against Borussia Dortmund. But you'll hear it, 5 Live, the place to listen to that Arsenal-Manchester City game, and Chelsea playing the ball out from the back with it on the right-hand side, slip forward towards Havertz. Havertz is challenged by Stones, little fortunate there, and it bounced back to the German, but then in comes Foden tackling back, and Manchester City have it back inside their own half. So Chelsea have won only 1 of their last 7 Premier League games. Manchester City have won 1 of the last 3. Here's Cancelo, though, up to the edge of the area. His first start since the World Cup as well. Tries to lay it into the penalty area for De Bruyne, but Cucurella is there to put in the challenge. And it's out of play for a throw-in. It came off De Bruyne, so it's a throw-in to Chelsea in their own left-back position. In the first half, Chelsea playing from right to left, so they're defending the Matthew Harding stand in the first half. The stadium absolutely packed. I saw on the old-fashioned sign that is still there, I'm pleased to say, as you walk up towards Stamford Bridge. The wooden slats in the holes declared that this match was sold out tonight, and it certainly appears to be. Still people coming into the ground, obviously travel difficulties at the moment. Here is Cancelo on the right-hand side. Bernardo Silva gives it back to him, and then Cancelo knocks it infield to Walker, who gives it back to Cancelo again. De Bruyne is there, but Chelsea players either side, so City go back towards the halfway line, and John Stones gets the ball onto his right foot. So no Akanji tonight. It's the first time Manuel Akanji has not been in the Premier League starting lineup since he made his debut for Manchester City. He's on the bench this evening. Zakaria, Jorginho among the subs tonight for Chelsea. Good work from Kovacic, that's good. Plays the ball with an angle to Zakaria, on loan from Juventus, the number 20. Now to Cucurella down the left-hand side, goes for an early cross in. Ederson actually just wasn't quite sure for a moment or two, and had to make ground to his right, the Manchester City goalkeeper, but it was going wider than near post and into the side net, and goal kick.
Yeah, they actually work it well. I think Kovacic came off the bench at the weekend against Nottingham Forest. I think Chelsea are a better team with him in that midfield, more robust, but it's a poor cross from Cucurella. In fact, Ederson had to be watchful. Cucurella wide on the left-hand side, 30 yards out. Need better quality. City set up interesting, though. I said about the back 3, and then put Bernardo Silva and Rodri, the deeper lying midfielders, playing more of a box formation. Gundogan and De Bruyne ahead of him, looking to outnumber Chelsea in the middle of the field.
This is interesting, isn't it, from City? I mean, Guardiola has played, hasn't he, on occasions with 3 central defenders during the course of this season. but this is really fluid, isn't it? Rodri dropping back sometimes into the back line to make it a 4, but now he's currently in the middle of midfield in his more accustomed position. Cancelo from the right side playing this ball forward. Kovacic is there down in the full-back position. Kovacic and Ziyech both returning to the starting lineup tonight for them for the first time since the World Cup. And then Kovacic, his misplaced pass doesn't find Aubameyang, and Ake was able to step across quite easily. And Manchester City set off again. Bernardo Silva playing in a deeper position for the most part so far in the game. Bernardo Silva. And it's one of those matches, Chris, how long have we got on the clock now? 10 minutes. And since the match began, I don't think I've mentioned the name of Haaland. I'm not sure whether he's actually touched the ball yet in the match.
He's occupying the two Chelsea centre-halves, the ageing centre-halves of Chelsea. He often doesn't have to have too many touches on the ball before he opens the scoring, though, John.
Nope, that's right. Koulibaly 31, Thiago Silva 38 years old, and then Azpilicueta is the right back tonight, 33 years old. And it is Manchester City with the bearded little Portuguese Bernardo Silva, who's dropped into the centre circle to pick up the ball and now shuffles forward with it, gives it to Kyle Walker. Now here's Cancelo on the right-hand side, and Manchester City have possession. Their supporters in great voice in the two tiers of the shed stand to our left. And here is Cancelo on the right-hand side. De Bruyne makes a run. Cancelo takes it infield, but he's just got too much of a touch on that, and that showed it to Koulibaly, who was able to step forward and clear it away downfield, out of play.
Well, Koulibaly did really well there, because Cucurella should do much better. There's that situation, Cancelo driving in off that right-hand side, on the inside. Cucurella really not contesting at all, and Koulibaly in that left centre-back position, coming across and making the clearance.
And in this formation, Gundogan and De Bruyne are playing in very advanced positions, sometimes like either side of Haaland. Manchester City with it on the right-hand side. Chelsea with it on the right-hand side. Ziyech trying to play it forward, but hits it straight into Ake, and the ball bounces out of play in the end off the Chelsea man, and it's a throw into Manchester City halfway inside their own half. I think Chelsea, Graham Potter, will certainly hope that Hakim Ziyech has been revitalised by what Morocco did at the World Cup. He was such an important player for them, but this is only his 3rd start for Chelsea this season, only the 2nd in the Premier League.
I think it's plain to see he doesn't really feel wanted, does he? And things maybe about to change for him.
Given away by Koulibaly. Bernardo Silva was onto that, but Koulibaly was able to step forward and play it towards Kovacic, who shields it brilliantly from Bernardo Silva. Then Cucurella given it away to Bernardo Silva. Fortunate Chelsea to get it back there. No Mason Mount for Chelsea tonight. If you just switched on, you didn't hear that. Mason Mount, according to Graham Potter, took a kick in training and therefore is not involved tonight, which is the first time he's not been involved in a matchday squad for Chelsea this season. So clearly a loss for the young England international, who's been Chelsea's Player of the Year the last 2 seasons. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Thiago Silva stepping forward and passing it through to the middle to Kai Havertz in this deeper position. Now Ziyech, Azpilicueta, but it bounces off his heel. Ake stepped in, and Manchester City have got it back. And now it is Rodri who's taken up possession and has carried it towards the halfway line, but he cuts back because Kovacic came across and closed him down. So City go back into their back line. Chris Sutton.
Yeah, De Bruyne had made a run out on the left-hand side, and it's a Chelsea, what a high line for them, but Rodri deciding to go back and keep possession of the ball. You see the way Chelsea are set up out of possession. They're trying to get to grips with that Manchester City, that box in the Manchester City midfield. We see Haaland come deep for the ball, and Chelsea got those players out in the wide areas. Cancelo there.
Here he is, Cancelo to Gundogan, who pulls the ball across but too close to Kepa, all in orange, like a beacon. Dives forward from the 6-yard box and makes a comfortable catch, and that was a good opportunity. That was a big opening for Gundogan.
It wasn't it? But there are the spare men in the wide areas for City. Cancelo right wing back, and Gundogan making a forward run. As a poor cross, in fact, but Kepa read it well, sprawling out and claiming the ball at his near post.
This City formation, you know, Graham Potter has built his coaching reputation, hasn't he, as a real tactician, a real thinker. Well, what City are doing tonight will certainly be making him think. Havertz playing it through to Aubameyang, right side of the box. Aubameyang hits the cross straight into Stones, who just dropped down to one knee and blocked it, prevented it from reaching Pulisic, who was inside the penalty area. Still Chelsea with it on the right-hand side. Here's Azpilicueta, who receives it and crosses early from the right, but beyond anyone inside the penalty area. That's where they wanted Aubameyang, but he wasn't in there, and Manchester City were able to clear through Cancelo.
Yeah, I don't know why he wasn't in there. It was an underlap from Azpilicueta crossing the ball in. Not enough bodies in the box.
Chelsea play it forward again. Azpilicueta, the best he can do there actually on the stretch is hook it back, and then he was in an offside position as a result of that at full stretch. And when it was returned to him by Ziyech, it's a free kick to Manchester City in their own left back area. Well, I think the Chelsea fans coming here tonight, I think will have been worried about what might happen. And so therefore, you know, we've seen a couple of spells there for Chelsea, which by their standards of recent times, and now they've won the ball back from Cancelo. Here's Cucurella, plays it square, Havertz through to Pulisic. Crucial challenge from Stones to slide in just as Pulisic was looking to shoot, and the deflection took it behind. Excellent defensive play from Stones. Corner Chelsea.
Yeah, and we spoke about Walker and Cancelo coming back into the Manchester City team, but they have started really sloppily. Miscommunication there, and Chelsea are onto them. The ball slid beautifully through by Havertz to Pulisic, and Pulisic opens his body up to try and feed a ball in right-footed into the far corner. Stones lunged across and made a crucial block to the outside of his left boot, but corner to Chelsea.
Ziyech to take this. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Ziyech raises his right arm, and here's the left-footed delivery to the near post, which is right onto the head of De Bruyne, who's able to head it away. Man at the near post. Back to Ziyech though, and Ziyech has crossed this time to the back post. Koulibaly got his head to it, nodded it up in the air, shouts that it might have struck the arm of Cancelo in the box. Chelsea players are looking towards referee Tierney, but there's a man down. Pulisic has gone down on the edge of the area. I'm not sure whether that's just a coming together or what's happened there. And anyway, we'll have a little stoppage in play. And we've played, what, just over 15 minutes. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Chelsea tonight without Mason Mount. They lost Raheem Sterling after only 2 minutes. Aubameyang having to come on for the former Manchester City man. And now Pulisic's down.
Yeah, and he stayed down, didn't he, after that challenge from John Stones. Beautifully weighted pass from Havertz into Pulisic's path. And Stones, it's a brilliant block. It's as good as a goal, that, from John Stones. If Pulisic gets the shot off there, he scores. Just roll the ball into the far corner, but he's in a fair bit of pain there, Pulisic.
I mean, it was quite a spectacular tumble by the time Stones slid in at pace. I'm not sure he caught him on the foot, but it might have been the way that he ended up on the ground. Anyway, he's receiving lengthy treatment here. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. It's the first Premier League meeting of the season between these sides. Their last 6 matches against one another have been in 4 different competitions. In November, City knocked Chelsea out of the Carabao Cup, and they will meet again in Manchester on Sunday afternoon, 4:30 kickoff in the FA Cup 3rd round. That's one of the commentary matches that you'll be able to hear. There are stacks and stacks of them on 5 Live this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, Monday of the 3rd round of the FA Cup. Pulisic is still off the field, so Chelsea down to 10 men again. Cancelo, as play resumes, on the right-hand side, but he's overhit that cross. It bounces over Foden and out of play for a throw-in near the corner flag.
He's had a shocking start, hasn't he, Cancelo? And we can see the gesture from the physios. Pulisic is coming off.
Not another one for Chelsea. Well, this is rotten luck now. You know, whatever we say about Chelsea and this run that they've been on since that defeat against Brighton, it was all good for Chelsea and Graham Potter, unbeaten in his first 9 matches, and then came that defeat at his former club, that 4-1 defeat. And since then, things have really been tough, and the injuries as well. I mean, as I say, they've lost Mount in training, they've lost Sterling early in the match, they've lost Pulisic now. Here is Kyle Walker for Manchester City. Walker plays the ball infield towards De Bruyne. Kovacic was able to just get there first. And now it's back with Kovacic again, but he's deep inside his own half, and he turns and he gives it back to Kepa, out to Koulibaly, who wanted to get rid of it quickly, which he did, to Cucurella. And now Kovacic, who's started the match really energetically, Mateo Kovacic. Havertz, who's halfway inside his own half, Kai Havertz, then to Zakaria, and then Chelsea have it on the halfway line and go back to Thiago Silva.
Interesting to see Havertz where his position this evening. There's a strong argument to say that he's not mad on playing as an out-and-out number 9, and that role there, the 10 position, is his best one, John.
Well played. Kovacic gives it square to Havertz. Now it's on the right-hand side. Ziyech to Zakaria. Now to Kovacic just outside the D. Slips the ball into the edge of the penalty area to Havertz, but the challenge came in, and Manchester City have got it back. And it's going to be Chukwuemeka who is going to come on. The teenager, the 19-year-old. Here's De Bruyne, though, for Manchester City. Poor cross from him. Don't often say that. Hit it badly. I think he mishit it altogether. Straight into Koulibaly, who was able to clear it away quite comfortably on the edge of the box. But that was another opening for Manchester City. Kevin De Bruyne, the former Chelsea man, remember how it didn't happen at all for him here. Remarkable to say that, now that you see him as the player that he is. Kevin De Bruyne into the penalty area, but in there as well is Thiago Silva, who's able to come out with the ball. Cucurella, 50-50 challenge with Cancelo, bounces for Bernardo Silva after that. Gundogan works it back to De Bruyne, who's there ahead of Cucurella in the full-back position. The Chelsea left-back area. Cancelo up against Cucurella, goes for the byline, gets the cross in, but a stretch and a catch by Kepa, the goalkeeper for Chelsea.
Yeah, good goalkeeping from Kepa, but Cucurella, I mean, that's too easy for Cancelo. Just faces him up, pushes the ball past him. Not even a trick. Had time to get his head up and put in a productive cross. That's too easy. And I think is Koulibaly gesturing as well that he's got a problem.
Is he? Well, he's looking across at Cucurella and he's walking past the referee, Tierney, and it does look as though he was setting off towards the halfway line. And he's stopped now because the referee's pointed to some tape on his boot, I think.
Yeah, he's got a problem with his boot.
I think maybe his boot has opened up, has it? And he's saying to the referee, hang on a minute, I'm going to have to go and change my boots.
I think Haaland, there was a coming together. Haaland may have stood on his feet or foot, and yes, an issue with his laces. These modern players, John, just had to patch himself up years ago, John, and just do his old boots up.
Yeah.
15 pairs of boots, don't they? That's the modern generation.
Let's not give listeners the impression that you weren't cosseted. It's not that long ago.
Not that long ago, I was the face of Patrick.
Were you?
You don't hear about Patrick anymore, John.
Top shop as well, weren't you?
Top
man,
shop
and Patrick. Top man, sorry. Top man and Patrick.
Record Christmas sales.
Was that year?
No.
There clearly wasn't a recession on then. Maybe there was a recession on, which as well. Here's Koulibaly playing the ball out from the back. Azpilicueta continues his run, but Ziyech couldn't get the ball forward, and he's claiming there was a handball. It was blocked away by Ake. Comes into Haaland. Haaland now to De Bruyne, 30 yards out, but good work from Chukwuemeka, who's just come on into the match to win the ball back. And now it's played for to Havertz in the area on the right-hand side against Rodri. Chukwuemeka with a chance. A block by Bernardo Silva. Now Ziyech in the area. Ziyech low shot. That's blocked by Ederson, who went down, just pushed it away, back from where it came on the right-hand side. And the Manchester City goal survives. A couple of important blocks and saves in there.
Yeah, Chelsea have had the better opportunities so far. The opening 23-24 minutes, and it's a really good challenge from Bernardo Silva, though, who tracked Chukwuemeka's run into the box. Sliding challenge, and then the follow-up save from Ederson, low down to his right-hand side. An important save. You'd expect him to make it.
Actually, Chelsea have had all of the chances.
Absolutely.
Still 0-0 though. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0, and Chelsea in possession. I mean, as we say, expectations clearly were low coming into this match tonight for Chelsea supporters, although they don't need that. Chelsea, Kovacic gave it away to Foden, but then important challenge from Thiago Silva, who fortunately was quite close to the action there and was able to leap in and put in the challenge on Foden. Otherwise that could have really backfired for Chelsea.
They've been careless, haven't they, once or twice, but they're actually playing through Manchester City pretty well at this moment in time.
They are, and the way that City are with this formation, you know, there are gaps there to exploit at the back because so many players are committed downfield.
Yeah, I think those wide areas important for Chelsea. Azpilicueta right back and Cucurella left back. Quick switches of play, they can get those overloads in wide areas.
Here's Aubameyang, back to goal, then back to Havertz, to Cucurella on the left-hand side, played just outside the Manchester City box. Chukwuemeka, now little ball into the edge of the area, that's blocked to Zakaria. It runs over to the right-hand side. Azpilicueta back to Zakaria, who tried to curl the ball into the box and hit it straight into Ake. And City were able to clear.
And that's very un-Manchester City like that. Phil Foden hoofing the ball with the outside of his left foot up the field, John.
And then Cancelo in, used his shoulder on Kovacic, and then Kovacic gets up. He puts the challenge in on Bernardo Silva, who went down, not complaining. It's a good challenge. And City have got it back inside their own half. And here's Chukwuemeka, lovely turn from him. He did it's Zakaria. Zakaria did the classic drop of the shoulder and went away from Kevin De Bruyne, but then checked back and played the ball back into his own half. So 0-0.
I think Aubameyang needs to be more definitive with his runs. We're seeing the Manchester City back line playing quite high. A lot of space in behind, and that's Aubameyang's game, isn't it? That pace in behind, that.
Yeah, coming on in the first 5 minutes of this match, Aubameyang. This is only his 15th appearance for Chelsea. 3 goals so far. And it is Chelsea making ground down the right. Ziyech and Azpilicueta combining, and in the end they've won a corner off Rodri. It's corner from the right-hand side this time for Chelsea in front of the Shed stand.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think you mentioned it, John. Rodri at times dropping in to a back to make a back four for Manchester City, but they've really lacked rhythm in this game so far.
Corner, which will be an in-swinger from the left foot of Ziyech to the near post. Rodri was there up above Azpilicueta to get ahead to it, back out towards the side from which it came, the Chelsea right. Ziyech then tangling with Rodri, and then he ends up with Rodri leaning into him. Ziyech went down, arms and legs all over the place, and he's won the free kick.
Yep, and
wasn't 100% sure about that.
No, the same. It's a decent position, though. You get the delivery right out on that right-hand side. Ziyech will whip this in with that wand of a left foot of his.
Yes, it certainly was working at the World Cup, wasn't it?
Yeah, this is one you get this whipped aim for just inside the far post. You get
it's a brilliant
Chelsea,
angle.
yeah, Chelsea runners across Ederson's eye line. Cause all sorts of problems.
Almost a perfect angle for Hakim Ziyech. Free kick on the right. In it comes from the left foot, but up to head it away is Haaland for Manchester City. It's nodded back into the City box. Walker is able to allow it to bounce over his head, just turns away from Aubameyang and then volleys it clear. And Chelsea have it back near the halfway line, although Koulibaly was at first dispossessed by Cancelo and then fouled him. So it's a free kick to Manchester City. I have to feel for Chelsea tonight, and you know, they're doing remarkably well given the setbacks that they faced, losing Mount in training, losing Sterling early on in the match, then losing Pulisic, and that is to add to the players currently on the injured list: James, Kante, Fofana, Chilwell, Loftus-Cheek, goalkeeper Mendy and Broja. You know, I think that would test any squad.
Yeah, that's lengthy, John.
However, there's still talented players that Chelsea have got, the rest of the squad, and they've been underperforming in the main pre and post World Cup. But they're doing okay in this match.
They've been the better team, I think. They've carried more of a threat than Manchester City, who, quite frankly, haven't got to grips with this change of formation from Pep.
Here's Cancelo on the right-hand side for City, who go back towards the halfway line and play it across to Stones. So generally, it's Walker, Stones and Ake who are the three central defenders.
Yeah, you've got Rodri and Bernardo Silva, two players holding midfielders in front of him.
As Cancelo plays it forward, Rodri's actually made a forward run up to the edge of the penalty area, takes it out into the full-back position. Havertz is back there with him, and then Cancelo goes back to Kyle Walker, who slips it around Chukwuemeka. Bernardo Silva, his sky blue shirt bobbing outside his white shorts. Foden on the left-hand side, black gloves for Foden tonight, and then back towards the halfway line to Manchester City again. Half an hour played. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. This is BBC Radio 5 Live and BBC Sounds. If you're on the move during the course of this Thursday evening, Walker playing the ball down the right-hand side to Cancelo, then Rodri infield to Bernardo Silva, 35 yards from goal, square again to Ake, now out to the left-hand side. Gundogan's appeared on the left wing for the time being. They are popping up in all sorts of places, these Manchester City players, in this formation tonight. Now it's Cancelo running at Cucurella, takes him on, goes down towards the line, pulls over the cross, it comes off Koulibaly and loops into the air, could have gone anywhere. Unfortunately for him, just looped into the air for Kepa to catch.
Yeah, Cucurella is the Chelsea weak link. That's a couple of occasions now. Cancelo getting the ball, running at him. Getting a cross in. It's his job, Cucurella's job, to stop the cross. That's as basic as it gets for a fullback. No pressure on Cancelo. Manchester City in the final third, I've got to say, John, I think they've been pretty disappointing so far. They're just started to make a number of passes, but they're not cutting through Chelsea.
Yeah, and as we mentioned earlier, you know who, Mr. Goals, has barely been involved in the game at all, which can be a worry in itself. The longest spell that he's had, a run without scoring for Manchester City so far, is one match. Here's Gundogan, plays the ball to the edge of the area, De Bruyne nods it across, Gundogan's onto this, right foot shot across the 6-yard box and well wide of the far post, actually, by 5 or 6 yards.
Oh, yeah, and he looks up to the heavens, Gundogan. They work it well. City, Gundogan inside to De Bruyne. It's an aerial pass. He tries to cushion a header down on the edge of the box to Haaland. He misses it completely. Gundogan carries on his run, shifts the ball inside on his left foot and tries to bend the ball into the far corner, but well wide of the far post. No real conviction of that effort.
That's Chris Sutton with us, of course, tonight on 5 Live here at Stamford Bridge. Referee Tierney just wants Chelsea to take this goal kick again. Chris, a former Golden Boot winner, Premier League top scorer. I mean, it is, I'm not wishing to sort of diminish the...
I know what you're going to say, John.
Extraordinary to think that he's already scored more goals than you won the Premier League top scorer.
I mean, you can belittle the award if you like. I see you've got an asterisk by ridicule Chris on that particular part of the commentary. Better defenders back in the day, John, weren't they? You know, the likes of Keown and Adams, real bullies.
Steve Bruce.
Yeah, Pallister. You know, to score against those defences, blimey.
Here's Aubameyang playing the ball back, and then it's through into the path of Zakaria, but Rodri was able to come across and take the ball away from him. And then Ake, back here at his former club, Nathan Ake, another one like Kevin De Bruyne, was able there to just get a touch back to goalkeeper Ederson.
Yeah, Rodri, tell you, such an aware footballer, isn't he? Just tracked the runner there and made the challenge. Such an impressive player.
Actually, Haaland's most significant contribution so far has been that header in his own penalty area.
That's right, yeah.
Here's Walker on the right-hand side, gets his head down. Kyle Walker has a look infield then, but Cancelo is the option that he uses outside him on the right wing. Bernardo Silva, and to Cancelo, back to Bernardo Silva again, and then City with Cancelo to De Bruyne, and this time Cucurella was quickly in and was able to touch it out of play for a throw to City, level with the edge of the Chelsea penalty area. Throwing his take, Walker takes it. I think Bernardo Silva knew he was trying to get out of the way because the throw was aimed at John Stones, but Kai Havertz was able to step in between them and take possession. That was actually quite comical. And so Chelsea are back in possession. Here's Zakaria. Oh, lovely, drags the ball back, beats Gundogan, and then isn't able to find the pass. It's beyond Ziyech, and it's out for a throw.
Yeah, lovely drag back from Zakaria. That's brilliantly sells Gundogan, and then the easier part of that, feeding the ball out wide to Azpilicueta, and he missed it in a turnover for Manchester City. But gotta say, Manchester City, disappointing result at the weekend. I think they had something like 74% possession, didn't do enough with it, didn't create enough opportunities against an Everton side who defended deep, but haven't got the passing game moving as we would have expected, I think, and as we've seen them for most of the season, they've been well off it.
Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Half-time approaching, Chelsea coming forward. That's good work from Ziyech on the right-hand side. Change of feet, went past Ake, but that man Gundogan was there this time for Manchester City, and the ball has found its way to Cancelo, and Cancelo rides the challenge of Kovacic, but Cucurella was able to come across and tap the ball back to Koulibaly in central defence. Chelsea confidence, you can feel it rising in the match, the way that it's gone. They've had a look at Manchester City, who've really barely threatened, and Chelsea have had those opportunities with the chance that Pulisic had, a really important last gasp tackle from John Stones on him, and then a couple of incidents when the newly arrived Chukwuemeka had a shot that was blocked, and then Ziyech with an effort that was saved by Ederson. But at the other end, Kepa has had a couple of crosses to catch, but yet to be properly extended. And Arsenal will be quite enjoying this with their 8-point lead at the top of the table. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Here's Rodri for Manchester City. Just knocks it square to John Stones, and then to Walker. And now to the right-hand side, and Chelsea go back into their own half and start again. And Stones just allows it to run to Rodri, who passes it through the middle to Gundogan, and Gundogan is moving, and he gives it to Haaland, who left-footed shoots over the angle of post and bar with his left foot. There's a little change of feet there from him, knocked the ball from right to left, snapshot, but over the top.
Yeah, and I mean, you call this, Haaland doesn't need to be involved in the game, does he? But that's the formation, that box that Manchester City are playing with, and the ball from Rodri fizzed in just off the floor to Gundogan, who gets on the half turn, and then Haaland on the move. He's poised, takes a really good first touch with his right foot, and then with the outside of his left foot, you expect him to hit the target. Just slows himself down a little bit, but high and wide for Haaland.
Running at pace, Koulibaly was there with him, just about shoulder to shoulder. But I mean, the speed of it, moving it from the right foot to the left foot for the shot.
He took the ball brilliantly, didn't he? His first touch was wonderful, and then you think his favoured left foot, outside of the left foot, just couldn't get on top of the ball.
As City are able to head it back to goalkeeper Ederson, a long pass forward aiming for Chukwuemeka. But you know, what I was going to say, Chris, was in terms of top scorer, in the last 4 seasons, the Premier League's top scorer has been either 23 or 22 goals. And he's already 21 Premier League goals, 27 in all competitions. And City are not even halfway through their season as Walker plays it through to De Bruyne, who couldn't take the ball, and it ran through to goalkeeper Kepa. The last what you might call big total in terms of Premier League goals was Salah in 2017-2018, when he scored 32 in the league.
And you could, I mean, you had the choice to say all those things rather than bring my season up, John.
Well, I'm just trying to put it into a bit of context. As Bernardo Silva through to De Bruyne to the right-hand side to Cancelo. Cucurella inside the box is able to time the challenge, took the ball, and was then fouled by Cancelo trying to win it back.
What on earth is wrong with Kevin De Bruyne this evening? That's a pass he makes in his sleep, gets on the half-turn. Cancelo steaming down the right-hand side, and he just puts it in between Cancelo and Cucurella, and I've been critical of Cucurella so far for his performance, but strong in the challenge. But that's a pass De Bruyne doesn't usually miss.
Yeah, that was the Kevin De Bruyne that we saw playing for Les Diables Rouges a few weeks ago rather than for Manchester City. 5 minutes to go to half-time. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. 5 Live Football Daily podcast will have all of the interviews from here. If you don't hear them before 5 Live Sport ends tonight at 10:30, you'll be able to download that from BBC Sounds, where, of course, you can listen to your live radio wherever you are. Ball out of play for a throw into to Chelsea, which is taken back to Koulibaly, who will then pass it back to Kepa. Plays it out to the right-hand side. Azpilicueta then back to Thiago Silva, who turns onto his right foot. And then Azpilicueta's pass, Ziyech ends up on the ground, and the ball's out of play for a throw-in to Manchester City. That Ake is going to take probably 20 yards away from where it should be taken, but it's closer to the halfway line, so referee Tierney says carry on. Chelsea, though, have won it back after that throw-in on the halfway line. Here's Havertz, back to the right-hand side, and now a low ball across is behind Aubameyang, and Manchester City are able to clear it away. But Zakaria is able to step forward. He gives it square to Cucurella. They want him to shoot. He gives it to Havertz, though, further to the left. Now back in field to Kovacic, and Manchester City are now back in position. Just feel that there was an opportunity there, and Chelsea didn't really grab it. Thiago Silva, though, to the right, to Ziyech, who beats Foden, shoots left-footed from the angle, but it's straight at Ederson, who's able to nimbly make ground to his right and grab it into his chest.
Yeah, it's one of those. Ziyech on the right-hand side likes to come inside on that left foot, and it's a cross shot, really. He's looking for Aubameyang to make a run across the near post, but the earlier one, John, you're quite right, Chukwuemeka, what an opportunity that was to just feed the ball in behind John Stones to Aubameyang, who had made the run, but instead the pass was behind Aubameyang, and the chance wasted. Both teams, I think Chelsea have had the better of the opportunities, but both teams have just lacked that quality in the final third.
They have, and that's why it's Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Bernardo Silva playing the ball over the top to Foden. He's not really been able to get into the game, has he, since that, remember that early pass from De Bruyne to Foden? But other than that, he's been a peripheral figure. Chelsea feel that there should have been a handball given in the centre circle. It wasn't. Rodri carries it forward, but he's hit a high pass that's beyond Foden, who is trying to watch it bounce over his shoulder, which he did, and he's done well to keep it in. If he has kept it in, no, he hasn't. The flag's up from the assistant down there, and it is a goal kick for Chelsea. And this Kovacic has gone to referee Tierney.
I think it was a handball from Bernardo Silva. Chukwuemeka plays the ball into the path of Kovacic, who pops the ball round Bernardo Silva with his heel, and Bernardo Silva sticks his left hand out and it hits his hand. That's the definition of a handball, John.
That's a handball.
Yeah.
Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0.
Interesting look Pepper's gone for tonight. He's gone for a fisherman look. Would you say that, John?
He must have been expecting bad weather. Long ball downfield over the top of Aubameyang. The roll necks have been all the rage, haven't they? Have you noticed? Since the resumption of the Premier League.
I don't know, not in Norfolk.
Have you not noticed that? Seen in the Premier League. Here's Havertz through to Chukwuemeka on the edge of the area, right foot shot hits the post, comes out to Stones, and Stones is able to show real coolness there, to control it, turn and pass it away, and now City are off with De Bruyne, who's away from Zakaria, and De Bruyne is challenged by Koulibaly. Still City though, Gundogan, De Bruyne left foot shot, but it's straight at Kepa, who's able to, just diving down to his right, catch the ball into his chest.
Yeah, Chelsea nearly take the lead. Chukwuemeka does brilliantly, picks up the ball 25-30 yards out. I think Cucurella does well. The Chelsea left back marauds on the left hand side, allowing Chukwuemeka to come inside on that right foot, just opens up a bit of space, and he hammers a shot right footed off Ederson's right hand post, and then cool defending from John Stones. And Manchester City break down the other end, but you can see what Chukwuemeka was thinking. He's gone for power. And Chelsea, maybe Graham Potter's thinking, blimey, is it ever going to happen for me?
Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0, but that was a real flurry of activity, wasn't it, at both ends? And you heard the groans there as the opportunity, the chance was seen on the big screens. Gundogan now for Manchester City. Foden's more centrally, gives it to Cancelo in the box on the right-hand side, onto his left foot, beats Cucurella too easily, shoots across goal, blocked by Koulibaly, and then cleared away by Kovacic on the edge of the box. Again, Cucurella beaten rather too easily. And here is Cancelo, who's licking his lips and thinking, yep, I'll have another go at him. Cancelo slips it in between Cucurella and Chukwuemeka, and then Chelsea are able to clear it away. But I think, did the Chukwuemeka shot take a little deflection onto the post?
Yeah, mate.
I thought it might have. However, he still was the width of the post away from what would have been his first senior goal. Still 0-0, given away by Havertz. They're angry about that, the home supporters. Bernardo Silva then to Gundogan. Haaland back to De Bruyne on his left foot. Shoots, took a deflection, and that carried it behind Foden, who was falling, trying to flick it with his heel. The officials weren't sure.
Offside, I think, somewhere in there, John.
Right.
De Bruyne unhappy with that decision. Just hasn't clicked De Bruyne at all this evening. Foden was offside, just edged ahead of the ball.
Yeah, very good decision. I think that's Konstantin Hatzidakis, who's the assistant down there, who is one of the top assistants. And you know, we criticise, don't we, all the time, the officials and decisions like that. Oh, they are not easy. And that was a very good call by him. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0 in 2 minutes of added time at the end of the first half. A goalless first half, it would seem, unless this long ball forward from Kepa, and then Walker forward to De Bruyne, who helps it on to Cancelo. Koulibaly comes across. Cancelo's gone for goal, actually, but got right underneath the shot, sliced it. And Kepa just took a couple of steps back and said, thank you very much, and caught it as though it was the easiest thing in the world, as though he was on the beach at Cromer.
Yeah, or East Runton, or Sheringham.
Yeah. Or any of those
the Norfolk
lovely places.
Coast, yeah, I don't think that was a shot, was it?
Cly next the sea.
Yes, very nice. You get around a bit.
Yeah.
Holcombe or Hokum,
Is that what they call
as
it?
Henry Winter calls it.
Haysborough is another one.
Yeah. Brancaster's lovely this time of year.
Is it? And there's the final whistle. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. And the first 45 minutes goalless, and who'd have thought Chelsea have had the better of it. Chris Sutton.
Absolutely, I think Graham Potter will be the happier manager at half-time. Probably disappointed his team haven't taken the lead. They have had the better chances. I think they grew in confidence the longer this half went, and that was, you know, a large part down to Manchester City and their really poor performance. But I think Pep will be reading the riot act at half-time and expect far more from his team. They're behind Arsenal in the league and they need to liven up.
So a little element there of Manchester City, Pep Guardiola, maybe, you know, we've said it before, being a little bit too clever.
Yeah, well, he's tinkered. What do we know? It hasn't worked in the first half. Will he change formation and system and maybe personnel at half-time?
And Chelsea, you know, losing, as we said, Sterling early on in the match, lost Pulisic as well to add to their injuries. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0 at half-time here at Stamford Bridge, and Gigi Salmon's here with us.
And maybe they will be making changes because the Manchester City subs are already out even before the players had left the field of play, as the huge Chelsea flags are waving in the West Stand. Damien's got in touch at 5 Live Sport. City look like one of those underdogs in an FA Cup tie, happy to be there, admiring Chelsea while they ping it around. And Cal Stubbers said, I'm shocked as a Chelsea fan right now after 2 more injuries within the game, and all those before. The way the Blues have dominated this title-chasing City side is just, in capital letters, unbelievable. Now, watching this game with us this evening is Izzy Christensen. And Izzy, when you consider how decimated Chelsea are as a squad, and with those 2 enforced changes in the first 22 minutes, they have done remarkably well and even had the best of the chances towards the end of the first half.
Yeah, they have, Gigi. They've been really, you know, surprising from their performance against Nottingham Forest, which lacked aggression, you know, it lacked flair, it lacked a lot of things that these players are capable of at Chelsea. And now we've seen a little bit, they've been sharper than Man City. They've played the better football in general. They've had the better chances, like you said, and they definitely look like a team which has had a bit of a rocket this week in between the Notts Forest game and this one, and they certainly look like the team that's going to go on and win this if there is going to be a winner.
On the flip side for Manchester City, their first shot in this game, which came in the 38th minute, that's the longest that Man City have waited for a first shot in a Premier League game since October 2018. That was against Liverpool. So all the little divots are being put back in the pitch. The Man City subs continue to warm up. We've got the second half live commentary to come, plus plenty more to get you through the half-time break. But now with the time at 8:50, here for you the news on 5 Live with Richard Foster.
Listen on BBC Sounds. This is BBC Radio 5 Live.
Further dramatic claims have emerged from Prince Harry's book Spare, which is out next week. Here's our royal correspondent, Johnny Diamond.
We have admissions of cocaine use when he was a youngster. We have Harry begging Charles not to marry Camilla. On and on. It's ceaseless. And yes, there is him losing his virginity to an older woman in a field at the back of a pub and then having his bottom spanked.
Copies of the book have appeared in Spain ahead of its official publication. Johnny says it's going to be extremely embarrassing for the royal family.
It's horror. It's absolute horror for them. And of course, there's been an absolute no comment from the palace. What's really on his mind is he felt when he and Meghan were married in that 2 years before they departed these shores, he says he was being briefed against by the palace that was there to speak for him and to defend him.
Other news tonight, and the government's confirmed it'll bring in new laws to guarantee emergency workers maintain a minimum level of service during strikes. Under the plans, unions could face legal action if they don't provide adequate cover. Several trade unions have criticised the proposals, including the TUC. 6 women have been arrested over the suspicious death of a 1-year-old boy at a nursery in the West Midlands. A criminal investigation started after a visit by Ofsted inspectors to the Fairy Tales Day nursery in Dudley. Police have confirmed that 2 of those arrested are being held on suspicion of corporate manslaughter. Ukraine's accusing Russia of hypocrisy after Vladimir Putin called for a ceasefire across the front line from tomorrow until Saturday to mark Orthodox Christmas. Kyiv says there can only be a truce when Moscow withdraws all its forces from Ukraine. And several shops have reported strong sales in the run-up to Christmas, despite the rising cost of living and the rail strikes. Next says its sales in the 9 weeks to the end of December were up by almost 5% compared with the previous year.
The FA Cup. Expect everything. Third round coverage this weekend.
Would you believe it?
Including
Gillingham versus Leicester City, Sheffield Wednesday, Newcastle, and on Friday night, Manchester United v Everton.
what a shot! Get all the third round action
Friday from 8
on 5 Live and BBC Sounds.
This is 5 Live Sport with Gigi Salmon.
And before our attention does switch to the third round of the FA Cup, we have Premier League action for you this evening. Coming to you live from Stamford Bridge, it is goalless at half-time, Chelsea against Manchester City, with Chelsea having had the best of the chances in the first half, despite losing Christian Pulisic and Raheem Sterling before 22 minutes were up on the match clock. Now, away from Stamford Bridge for just a few minutes, a few sports headlines to bring you, and Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin has made what the club are calling remarkable improvement over the past 24 hours since suffering a cardiac arrest during Monday night's game against Cincinnati. The Bills say Hamlin is still critically ill, but has demonstrated that he appears to be neurologically intact. Emma Raducanu left the court in tears after her injuring her ankle on what she called slippery courts in Auckland. This is tough news for Raducanu because the Australian Open starts in 11 days' time. We'll have comprehensive coverage of the Australian Open across 5 Live. Now, after winning 12 trophies in a 12-year stint with Arsenal, Jordan Nobbs has signed for Aston Villa on an 18-month contract. And Izzy, this is a big signing for Aston Villa because in Jordan Nobbs, they're getting someone who is highly experienced and highly decorated. Yep,
absolutely. And Jordan's she's a player of the highest quality when she's in form, and I think that she's had a very decorated career at Arsenal, 12 years at a club. She's a club legend, and from that perspective it's quite sad to see her leave Arsenal, but on a personal and friend level, I'm delighted for her that she's got this move 6 months out of the World Cup, because she's a player who, if in form, should be in the England squad. And I really hope that the move turns out well for her and she can be an asset to the Aston Villa side, who are doing really well in the WSL this season.
That's the important thing there, isn't it? It's getting back into the England squad, to the England World Cup squad, because she didn't have a regular place. And I read her statement on leaving Arsenal. It was very emotional. It was obviously a very tough decision. But as you said, this is the best decision for her because she is looking to the future.
That's right. And, you know, football careers don't last forever. And I actually saw Jordan just before Christmas and had a chat with her, and I completely understood her decision and her ambitions. And, you know, with players in their 30s, a lot is said about them, you know, fitness-wise and stuff. But Jordan's somebody who is very fit, athletic, and she can certainly, you know, have a big impact on games physically and the forward runs from midfield. So, you know, I think this is a really good move for her in a team where the system suits her down to a T, in my opinion. So, yeah, all I can say is I'm delighted for her, and I really hope it turns out to be successful.
It's a confirmation that Arsenal's Jordan Nobbs has signed for Aston Villa on an 18-month contract. Now, there's been a big story in US soccer this week. It involves the men's national team head coach Greg Berhalter, player Gio Reyna, and his mother Danielle, who says that she reported Berhalter to the US Football Association for kicking his wife when they were teenagers. He has admitted it and is now under investigation by the US Federation. I'm very happy to say that, to give us some context to this story, joining us now from Connecticut, journalist Roberto Rojas. Roberto, it's lovely to have you with us, and this is a story that we need some context on because it has links that go back to this year's World Cup.
Oh boy, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me, and where to begin? I mean, you know, this has certainly been a storm that has really been brewing in U.S. soccer ever since the end of the World Cup, but I'll try my best to try to explain it as best as I can. So basically what had occurred was that Gio Reyna was going to be on the World Cup squad, and he was included, but Greg Berhalter had told him that he wasn't included in his plans due to a, I would say, you know, kind of inconsistency and lack of intensity in the previous friendlies before the start of the World Cup. I guess afterwards, when the tournament ended and they got eliminated in the round of 16, Berhalter made some comments in a conference right after it, basically talking about how this kind of attitude that Reyna had almost made him out of the World Cup squad, almost took him out. And I guess those comments that were made from that conference, I mean, obviously he didn't say his name per se, Berhalter, but I guess the comments and the leaks that later found out that it was indeed Reyna that made that little fuss up got to the parents of both his of Gio Reyna, which is obviously Claudia Reyna, the former United States captain of the national team, and Daniela. So and basically, I guess it came from there that supposedly, you know, they tried to allegedly, of course, blackmail Greg Berhalter from an incident that occurred when they were, you know, college roommates back in the 90s, of him allegedly kicking his now wife. So yeah, it just stemmed on through an entire, you know, situation and a lot of things really going on, and it's really not the situation the U.S. want to be in, you know, with them preparing for the World Cup, kind of in this new process after, you know, performing well in this one in Qatar. It's just been quite a mess to really follow.
And this has stunned a lot of American soccer fans, because you touched on there, you've got the history of the Reyna family. I mean, these are two families that go way back. They are very interlinked.
Absolutely. The Reynas and the Berhalters, you know, in this case, Claudio and Greg, they grew up together. They went to high school together. They obviously also went to college together. Their wives went to college together. They all played football, soccer, we say here in the States. Obviously, Berhalter and Reyna played together on the U.S. national team. Their sons know each other. So, yeah, these guys go way back on a link of nearly 30 years now, if not more. So it's really quite an interesting set of tales now when you have someone like Berhalter, who is, you know, the manager of the national team, although not officially now because of his contract running out, but still having been able to look at Gio, to been able to have coached him through various games, and to have that kind of relationship, especially with the importance that, you know, someone like Claudio has as well. It's just been such a big mess, and, you know, it certainly puts in kind of the issues that U.S. soccer has been going through in this. And, you know, it shows that not everything is shining brightly over there at U.S. soccer.
Yeah, former US international Stuart Holden has tweeted, everyone loses here. What an awful and unnecessary mess. It's a word we're hearing a lot, isn't it? Mess. All now being played out in the public eye. Damage control everywhere, but it's too late. And I believe, Roberto, that Greg Berhalter, he's released a statement.
He did. Yes, he did. He released a statement, obviously admitting to that. And, he obviously is on leave right now. He's not currently in charge of the national team because of his contract running out. But, obviously this really does not go well for anyone, for both him and for both the Reyna family as well, be it Gio or Claudio or his wife Daniela. So, yeah, it's been quite a dramatic tale of a twist of events. And we're going to have to see what comes from this investigation and who indeed is telling the truth in all of this.
Roberto, we really appreciate your time. You explained it all beautifully.
Thank you so much.
It was Roberto Rojas joining us from Connecticut. Now we have Man City back out. We're waiting for the re-entry of Chelsea to the Stamford Bridge pitch, which gives me, Izzy, just a couple of minutes to have a chat with you, because you are back now post-winter break in training. I think that was yesterday. How was that? Was it tough? Did you have a few days off in Christmas?
Fitness testing, Gigi. Fitness testing. Ooh. We did get a day warning though about it. I think that's a good. You see, if the coaching staff, if they tell everyone you got fitness test in 2 weeks in advance, everyone just worries for 2 weeks. And being a senior member of the squad, it was my job yesterday to sort of balance the anxiety around running a 5-minute running test. And I said, look, simplify it. You run for more than 5 minutes in a game and in training anyway. So what are we getting all worked up about?
5-minute running test post-Christmas, it's not fun. Do you allow yourself to have a day off, 2 days off, no time off? What's your kind of rule?
Well, I allow myself work hard, play hard type of theory. So I had 4 nice days off over Christmas. Worked with a technical coach quite local to my family's home, working hard on keeping sharp on the ball, bit of fitness as well. So I felt like I achieved a good balance, and I've come back in feeling good. So whatever I did worked.
Well, carry on with that training. 5-minute running test though. Don't want one of those. Right, Stamford Bridge is our base this evening. Izzy Christiansen is keeping a close eye on events here at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea are just making their way out slowly. You can hear the applause from the fans, and so they should be. They had the better of the first half. Remember, this is Chelsea in 10th, looking to kickstart their season. This is Manchester City looking to put some pressure on leaders Arsenal. They face each other again this weekend, but it's City in the third round of the FA Cup. But for now, for this evening, it's all about the Premier League. We've got every kick here on 5 Live Sports in the company of your commentary team of Chris Sutton, but first, correspondent John Mull.
Thank you, Gigi. So after Manchester City's underwhelming first half, it is 0-0 as the second half is about to begin, with Erling Haaland towering over the ball in the centre circle. City are making a double change, and Akanji is coming on into central defence, and young Rico Lewis is coming on as well, the 18-year-old at right back. So Walker and Cancelo are being substituted at the break. There is the whistle from Paul Tierney, and off we go after the goalless first half, which Chelsea had the better of. No changes for them, no further changes, that is. So Chelsea with Kepa in goal, a back four of Azpilicueta, Thiago Silva, Koulibaly and Cucurella, then Zakaria and Kovacic, Ziyech, Havertz, substitute Chukwuemeka and substitute Aubameyang. Chelsea having lost Sterling and Pulisic to injuries in the first half. And City, know what you're laughing at.
Yeah, well, I'm the same as you, John. I thought Rico Lewis would come on in that right-back position. He's gone straight into centre midfield.
So he has.
Bernardo Silva is playing as a high right wing-back, and it's the same formation for City, though.
Yeah, so 3 central defenders again. I think I've made more changes to my written down formations in this match than any I can remember in recent times. So here is Akanji then, back, having been left out of the Premier League starting lineup for the first time since he made his debut. Akanji, and here's Ake on the left-hand side, but Chelsea are able to clear through Azpilicueta. So Manchester City now with Ederson in goal. So the 3 central defenders are Stones, Akanji and Ake. Here's Rodri, who plays the ball to De Bruyne, and now Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side into the box against Cucurella. Bernardo Silva puts his foot on the ball and then gives it to Rodri. Now back to Bernardo Silva near the right corner of the box. Lewis, Rico Lewis, as Chris says, playing in a central midfield, a right central midfield position. And John Stones turning and giving the ball back to Akanji. One of the highlights of the first half was John Stones' tackle on Pulisic just as he was about to, it seemed, give Chelsea the lead. And actually that incident, we think, led to the Pulisic injury that forced him off the pitch in the first half. Poor touch from De Bruyne, so Chelsea have got it back. And Chukwuemeka very nearly lost it in a dangerous position, and he has now. He's been dispossessed by Gundogan, who can't take advantage. Cucurella was able to step forward, but then Haaland has won it back and shoots left-footed from the edge of the D. He's saying that took a flick off Zakaria. Referee Tierney, who was less than 10 yards away, said no, it didn't. It's a goal kick to Chelsea, Chris Sutton.
Yeah, it's really poor centre-forward play from Aubameyang, who actually back to goal 30 yards out, just gives the ball straight to Haaland, sharp on the turn, and that hammer of a left foot drags his shot wide.
Chelsea playing the ball out, goal kick from the back. Thiago Silva across the edge of the 6-yard box to Koulibaly, and eventually they win a throw-in halfway inside their own half. So the rest of that Manchester City lineup, Chris, with Lewis and Rodri and Gundogan now in the midfield area, Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side. De Bruyne seems to be still in that advanced right-sided position. Foden on the left, and Haaland through the middle. And here is Haaland to De Bruyne, just on the edge of the box. Gundogan, now Bernardo Silva clips it across, but onto the head of Thiago Silva, who got up and headed it back out towards the far side. Manchester City attacking towards the shed stand, the two-tier shed stand to our left, where all of the Manchester City supporters are. And great credit to them, by the way, those who've come from outside London to get here during this transport chaos, public transport chaos that we're seeing at the moment. Here is Ake on the left-hand side. Phil Foden then plays it back towards the halfway line, and Akanji in Manchester City. City are dominating possession in the early stages of the second half. Just 3 minutes played, 5 live and BBC Sounds. And City, this is good. Lewis now. Lewis, who did well, actually, if you remember, against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup in November. Bernardo Silva left-footed ball into the box, but all the way through to Kepa, who was able to come forward. Now he's given it away. Ake was onto that, underarm out from Kepa. Ake again, got it back from Foden. He gives it to Foden. Foden in the right-back position, but Chelsea are quickly back. They've recovered, although Foden goes round Azpilicueta, who is just able to get a foot in, the Chelsea captain, and block it behind for a corner.
Yeah, is it a corner or is it a free kick? I think it is a free kick. Foden and Azpilicueta, a little tug at the jersey from Azpilicueta on Phil Foden, but Manchester City, I think there would have been a few harsh words at half-time from Pep Guardiola. Not a change in formation, but they've certainly upped the intensity level.
Change in attitude, change in approach, an improvement, actually, all round, which it needed from the champions. Hoping to win a third consecutive Premier League title, which is a rare thing. City have never done it before. Foden on the left-hand side with this free kick. No, he runs over it. De Bruyne plays it in, round the two-man wall, but a stretch and behind off the right foot of Azpilicueta, and it is a corner this time for City. This is their first corner of the match for Manchester City, which tells its own story. De Bruyne takes it short to Foden, and then back to De Bruyne, who curls it into the back post. Header against the post from Rodri. Then Bernardo Silva on the follow-up, and that's deflected wide. He drove it goalwards. It was a packed 6-yard box, and that was wide. There's two balls on the pitch. City have taken a quick corner on the far side. They've got it centrally with De Bruyne. Back it comes to Lewis. They tried to take advantage there of perhaps some Chelsea disarray by taking it quickly, but Chelsea were alive to it. Now De Bruyne curls it in all the way over everyone and beyond the far post and behind. But there we are, that's the closest Manchester City have come. Ake and Rodri were together at the back post, and the header was Ake's.
Oh, well, was it Rodri onto Ake? No, it was Ake. They both leaped for the same ball. Brilliant cross from De Bruyne. And the header hammers off the corner of the post and Chelsea bar. Manchester City out of the traps in this second half. Need to close that gap on Arsenal.
All given away. by Chelsea. De Bruyne shoots low and Kepa gets down to his left and does well to push it away. He didn't really catch it, De Bruyne, as he was hoping to do there. On his left foot, it was down to the goalkeeper's left, who was able to parry it away.
Yeah, it's a smart save from Kepa down to his left-hand side. I think if that's De Bruyne coming in from the other side on his right foot, would see the back of the net bulge. A decent save, important save, but it's all Manchester City.
Chelsea have got to stand up here because Manchester City have upped the ante, they've upped their game. However, it is Chelsea now bringing it away. Still Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. Ziyech to Zakaria, who comes away from Ake on the right-hand side. Takes the ball in field, gives it back to Ziyech, who wasn't able to deliver the pass back to Zakaria. And Manchester City have been able to clear through Akanji, and actually Foden's been fouled, and it's a free kick to Chelsea, to City in their own left-back area.
It's a really stupid free kick to give away from Azpilicueta. Foden with his back to goal, out on the touchline, deep in his own half. Just allows City to pop the ball down and start playing again. I just wonder at half-time, though, talk about the City changes, whether there was issues with Walker and Cancelo.
Bernardo Silva plays it over the top, down into the full-back position. De Bruyne on the chase, he gets there, right-footed cross, but that's over everyone inside the box, whether in sky blue or royal blue. And Ake goes away from Aubameyang and then uses Phil Foden, who's come on as a substitute in all three of Manchester City's matches since the World Cup, but now in the starting lineup. Quietish first half, but City now with Bernardo Silva on the right-hand side, back to Lewis, and Lewis under pressure is able to turn it back to John Stones. Now Akanji in the middle of the Chelsea half, square to Rodri rolls it out to the right-hand side to Bernardo Silva, so it's Bernardo Silva up against Cucurella now that Cancelo's gone off, and Cancelo had a lot of joy against him. Bernardo Silva with all his tricks, and now Lewis and Bernardo Silva, and Rodri's over there as well on the right wing. Bernardo Silva still in possession, and he's put his foot on the ball, he's dragged it back, and now he's curling it back to Stones nearer the halfway line. Oh, and that's given away by Akanji, but Chelsea, I don't think they're going to be able to take advantage. They're not, because John Stones was able to step forward and clear it from Chukwuemeka. So Chelsea have it again inside their own half, 0-0. But Chelsea have withstood a bit of a storm there from Manchester City in the opening 10 minutes of the second half. A significant improvement from them, and the closest they came was that header where Rodri and Ake were almost quite literally queuing up for it at the back post. Here's Havertz now, though, as Chelsea come forward. Ziyech's ball in from the right, but Akanji was there with Zakaria to prod it behind for a corner to Chelsea, and that's a blessed relief for the home side.
Yes, it is, in the first bit of pressure they've had in this second half. Ziyech wide right, early cross, but Akanji in that near post space position pops it behind, but Chelsea deliver from this corner. Left-footed in swinger.
Yeah, Ziyech steps away at an angle. Now Ziyech's corner into the 6-yard box. Haaland was there to head it away with his back to his goal, 3 or 4 yards from the line. Headed it out to the left-hand side. In comes the cross. Oh, and it's bounced off Hazard, and then Thiago Silva shoots wide, swung a leg at it. He's saying it took a deflection. There was a City player just close to him, but he pulled it wide. Just had an almighty swing with his right foot, 7 or 8 yards out, but it went wide for Sutton.
Yeah, but Havertz had the better opportunity. I think Thiago Silva's quite right. There was a deflection from Rodri, which took the ball wide, but Havertz on his heels wasn't expecting the cross to go all the way through to him. He was 6 yards out. Didn't expect it. The ball pops out to Thiago Silva, who thundered a right-footed effort, but the deflection took it wide.
However, the officials didn't see it, so it was a goal kick. Still 0-0. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0, and then Havertz and Rodri are tangling together. Havertz has fouled Rodri, and it's a free kick to Manchester City, and that's all calmed down very quickly. Referee Tierney actually is going to come across him and says to Rodri, come on, I'm going to have a little word with you first before play gets back underway, but there wasn't too much in that. So 0-0 it is in the Premier League here. The defending champions Manchester City, second in the table, against, well, mid-table Chelsea. That's what they are, mid-table, almost mid-winter. Here's Akanji now, although it doesn't feel like winter tonight. And City are going to bring on Riyad Mahrez. Chris, that's what you were suggesting at half-time. Might be a wise thing for Pep Guardiola to do. Haaland now through the middle, but Koulibaly was able to put in the challenge, and it bounces away out of play down the right.
Yeah, and the reason for that, Cancelo not on the field anymore, but caused Cucurella so many problems running at him in that first half. And you think, blimey, Cancelo's doing that to Cucurella. What could Riyad Mahrez do?
Mahrez scored the opening goal against Chelsea when they met in the Carabao Cup in November. They'll meet in the FA Cup on Sunday. You'll hear that on 5 Live. Here's Bernardo Silva in the box, though, on his right foot, turning back onto his left. But then in comes the challenge, and Aubameyang's able to pass it away for Chelsea to Ziyech. And he's overhit that. And there are groans from the home supporters in the East stand in front of us.
I don't think Aubameyang does anywhere near enough, though, to work hard and make an angle to receive the ball back from Ziyech. Did well to pop it out to him, but you need far more from your centre forward there. Needs to run the channel and run it early.
Jack Grealish is going to come on as well, so it's going to be a double change. Mahrez and Grealish. City with Gundogan, and now Ake. Left-footed ball to the edge of the box. That's headed away by Thiago Silva. Chelsea haven't been able to get it away, though. I mean, it does feel that the momentum is building against Chelsea here. Manchester City, the strong favourites coming into this match. But City in possession with Rodri. And Rodri, right in step, rolls a pass, bounces 2 or 3 times to Bernardo Silva, who takes on and beats Cucurella easily, and then into the box, beats him again, still Bernardo Silva, back to De Bruyne, right foot shot, oh, it whistles just wide of the top right corner.
What is wrong with Kevin this evening? Silva does brilliantly on that right-hand side, great feet, and he pops the ball out to De Bruyne. Oh, it's what, 14 yards out, angle against him, but he fizzes the ball and doesn't hit the target, doesn't work Kepa at all. It's very De Bruyne-like. City make a couple of substitutions.
Yep, Grealish and Mahrez are on. Foden is off, and Bernardo Silva also makes way.
Kevin De Bruyne is off this evening,
but
off his game.
Still on,
but off his game. But Grealish has come out to this left-hand side, and Mahrez, as expected. I think the message will be, feed him the ball, let him run at Cucurella. Bernardo Silva, his last act actually was creating a real opportunity from Kevin De Bruyne after getting the better of Cucurella.
So Mahrez is on the right, Grealish is on the left. Britain's most expensive footballer. They'll have one of his predecessors alongside me on Saturday evening for the Sheffield Wednesday Newcastle tie, Chris Waddle, who played for both of those clubs. That's one of our many commentaries on 5 Live and Sports Extra from the FA Cup third round this weekend. All gets underway tomorrow night, Manchester United against Everton. Here's Gundogan into the box, Grealish tried to drag it back, but actually hardly got any touch on the ball, and Chelsea were able to clear, and Havertz is on the chase, and Akanji gets a touch. Ederson was way out of his penalty area, but Akanji did get a significant touch on that. Ederson, if he'd taken out Havertz there, that would have been big trouble for Manchester City, but he didn't.
Oh, that was a poor decision, wasn't it, from Ederson? If he comes, he's got to get it.
Here's Gundogan, 25 yards out, tried to slip it through for Haaland. That was cut out by Thiago Silva, went to ground, and now City lose possession. It's given away, and Manchester City then getting back into position. Aubameyang suggesting that he was upended as he was trying to get to the ball. Referee Tierney's ignored that. Manchester City come forward down the left-hand side. It's Grealish ringing into the penalty area, up against Azpilicueta, angles it to De Bruyne. He pokes it across, headed away by Koulibaly, who comes across ahead of Haaland and Gundogan. Feels like a goal's coming, Chris.
Yeah, you feel it's coming for City. Chelsea hanging on in there, showing their resilience. Koulibaly there does so well because in that situation, Haaland's normally on the move. He was behind him, and as De Bruyne just dinked the ball up from the left-hand side, Koulibaly attacked the ball really well.
Less than half an hour to go. 5 Live from the BBC. Also on BBC Sounds, Chelsea 0, Manchester City 0. And throw-in for City level with the edge of the Chelsea box. Pep Guardiola is now out on the edge of his coaching area in that grey fisherman's polo neck sweater, isn't it? That's what it is. I thought he was going to pull his polo neck up over his head when De Bruyne's shot went wide a few moments ago. Here's Mahrez, goes past Cucurella easily into the box now, but then Chelsea are there, sheer force of numbers. Kovacic was in there, Koulibaly, Chukwuemeka as well. I think they know that Cucurella needs help there, and they did the job. And City have now got it back in front of their own penalty area.
And they've got their swagger, John, haven't they, City, in this second half?
That's the worry, when they don't. You're usually not too far away from when they do. And now here's De Bruyne just outside the box to Grealish. Grealish to the back post, it's in! Mahrez is there, arriving to tap it in from point-blank range. Cucurella tried to stop him, but he couldn't. And Manchester City find a breakthrough here at Stamford Bridge. It's taken them over an hour, but they've found the goal, and it's Mahrez, who scored against them in the Cup in November, who makes it Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1.
What a ball this is from Jack Grealish. It's the City bench, which has worked for Pep this evening. Got to say it was coming though, John. They were so poor in the first half, City. But they actually played well from the back, and the ball comes out. It's all the way from the back. Right-hand side initially. Mahrez into Gundogan, out to the left-hand side, De Bruyne, who waits a ball to Grealish, and Grealish, left-footed, just feeds the ball. Teasing ball it is across the Chelsea 6-yard line on the left-hand side of the box, and there is Mahrez at the far post doing what all good forwards do. Closing that door. Easiest of opportunities, right-footed from 2 yards. 1-0 City. Chelsea, they've got real work to do because they haven't laid a glove on Manchester City in this second half. They've got to find a way.
Well, Chelsea supporters, I think, came here tonight fearing the worst. It is only 1-0. And it's taken Manchester City into the last half hour to score that goal. But really now, it feels like Chelsea have got an enormous job on their hands to get anything out of this, even though we've just seen the one goal.
Yeah, and do you know what, in the first half, I think the crowd stayed with Graham Potter and stayed with the team. You just sense this could turn ugly in here in the last 25 minutes. If Chelsea aren't brave on the ball, if you're going to lose, there's a way to lose against last season's champions, who I regard as the best team in the country. But this is Chelsea, a team who are used to winning big trophies, and they've got to take the game to City. I do think that. They can't just sit back and lie down and get well beaten by this Manchester City team.
The Manchester City supporters showing their appreciation there for Jack Grealish's part in that goal. As you said, Chris, it was a delicious ball, wasn't it? Diagonal across the penalty area that Mahrez, arriving, was able to pop into the net. And Grealish doing there what he does best, really, when he's at his best.
Well, he's taken a bit of a battering at times, hasn't he, Jack Grealish? Doesn't score enough goals, not enough assists. That was a moment of brilliance. Really was. Knew exactly what he wanted to do. The weight of the ball, not too hard, not too soft, just perfect for Mahrez.
Yeah, on a plate, as they say. So Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1, and 2 of Pep Guardiola's substitutes coming up not long after they'd come onto the field, actually. Mahrez and Grealish. combining. I'm not sure how many minutes they'd been on the field actually before they combined for that goal. But Guardiola's made 4 changes tonight. You know, very often you'll see Pep Guardiola does not take use of the full 5 substitutes, but he's done that tonight, and to good effect. 2 changes at half-time, then that double change leading to the goal.
I think it was a legitimate criticism of Pep Guardiola at the weekend. I think when he put Foden on with 3 minutes to go, Alvarez and Gundogan the same. But decisive in this game, as I said, be interesting to find out the reasons for Walker and Cancelo coming off at half-time, whether there was injury or illness or just because they weren't up to standard.
Well, we'll be on air tonight, 5 Live Sport, till 10:30 this evening from here at Stamford Bridge, so we might well have Pep Guardiola on to answer that very question. And some interesting changes here from Graham Potter. Aubameyang, who came on as an early substitute for Sterling, is now being substituted as a substitute. And Graham Potter just lean across and shake hands with him. Cucurella is coming off as well, and Ziyech. Some interesting changes here in terms of the players who are coming on. Conor Gallagher is coming on for Chelsea, but also Lewis Hall, the 18-year-old left back, who's making only his 4th appearance for Chelsea, and also the number 56, Amari Hutchinson, is coming on to make his Chelsea debut here. So he's a forward player. He's taken up a position on the right-hand side. He's already a Jamaican international, actually, made his debut for Jamaica in May, having earlier being an England under-19 international. But 19 years old, Chris, 1-0 down at home to Manchester City, the champions, and he's on for his debut.
Yep, and it's I say a brave call from Graham Potter. I think Ziyech pretty ineffective. I thought Aubameyang was hopeless in truth, offered very little, and Cucurella had a really difficult evening.
Free kick, Chelsea have got. Gallagher's going to play it in, and that's headed away by Rodri back into his own penalty area. And we've seen next to nothing of Chelsea in an attacking force in this second half, because Manchester City have been so much better. And Gallagher now takes the ball forward for Chelsea. Maybe he'll revitalise Chelsea. I thought he did that to an extent when he came on as a substitute, Gallagher, at the City ground on Sunday afternoon. But rather like that match at Nottingham Forest, Chelsea have been second best in the second half. Here's Hall, Lewis Hall, fair head. Great things expected of him in his footballing career. But a great deal has been asked of him here tonight by Graham Potter and Chelsea. Havertz, as Chelsea win it back in the centre circle. Here's Chukwuemeka, another teenager out there, the 19-year-old. Now Lewis Hall, the 18-year-old, combining on the left-hand side. I mean, there are a lot of fresh faces out there. Conor Gallagher himself is still only 22. So boys, really, Chris, being asked to do a men's job. Zakaria to Kovacic. Kovacic couldn't find the pass to Gundogan, who was able to intercept near the edge of his own box.
Do you know what, though? I think Graham Potter just simply wants a bit more urgency from his Chelsea team. He's gone young players, but young players who are going to give a bit of drive to this team, make a tackle or two, and maybe play without fear. Because I think in this second half, Manchester City, they have been in total control. And we spoke about Cucurella in the first half, and those 1v1 duels with Cancelo just wasn't up to it. It's his job to stop the cross. Second half the same.
Oh, there's Zakaria stepping in to win the ball back from Gundogan. Zakaria across to Hutchinson, and then Hutchinson square to Kovacic, and the number 8 takes it onto his left foot, but it's been forced wide by Rodri. So Havertz, and now to Hall on the left, and now Kovacic. But City have got almost everyone in a sky blue shirt back behind the ball. Koulibaly to Hall, and then Kovacic is back there near the halfway line. Kovacic spreads it out to the right-hand side. The ball bounces up to Azpilicueta, and then Gallagher back to the captain, Azpilicueta. This for Hutchinson to chase, and he's leaned into by Akanji. The ball runs away behind. They wanted a free kick, the home supporters down there in the Matthew Harding Lower but referee Tierney says only goal kick. 1-0 Manchester City lead.
Yeah, but actually, since the Chelsea subs have come on, I don't want to get too excited, but they've shown a bit more belief and urgency and shown for the ball. I think it's really telling, the Aubameyang substitution. That's embarrassing for Aubameyang, but do you know what? Can you really argue with that?
No.
Did Aubameyang do enough, give enough? I've always thought, Aubameyang has been an outstanding player. Manchester City high line. How many times has Aubameyang really made runs in behind, done what he's good at and made a career out of? None. He's been lazy and hauled off, rightly so.
Here's Mahrez playing it through to De Bruyne, who plays the ball right across the 6-yard box, and Haaland sliding, got a touch but not enough to send it goalwards, and that took it behind for a goal kick. But City there showing just how dangerous they are.
Yeah, Mahrez right hand side driving in on his left foot, and De Bruyne makes a run beyond him, gets his head up and whips a ball in across the 6-yard line. Kepa goes to ground, and Haaland's big left boot can't get enough on it.
Paul was a little fortunate there that his pass found Gallagher. However, Gallagher now to the right hand side, and Hutchinson with the bleached blonde top to his hair plays it infield to Zakaria and then Kovacic. And Chelsea have significantly improved since that triple substitution, since the youngsters came on. Back it comes to Kovacic, who's suddenly come to life. Kovacic, right-footed ball across. Hutchinson with a header. Then Havertz nods it goalwards, but an easy catch really for Ederson under the crossbar, stretching up and catching it. He was off balance, Havertz, and could only nod it lamely goalwards, really.
Yeah, it's
tamely run.
Yeah, it was lamely, tamely. Better from Chelsea.
Hall's done well. He's won the ball back over there on the left ahead of Mahrez. And there's a high cross from him to the edge of the area. Hutchinson's in there, might have fouled Ake. No free kick given. Kovacic has a goal, but that's wide. Curls away from goal and behind into the Matthew Harding lower goal kick. But at least they've found something, Chelsea.
Yeah, and do you know what? The Chelsea fans are still with the team. I think they like what they're seeing. Kovacic there should do much better. Doesn't get set. It's a decent shooting position. 25 yards out, left-hand side of the box, but rushes his shot, goes well over Ederson's bar. We knew what Gallagher was going to bring this Chelsea team in terms of energy and drive and enthusiasm. But at least they look like they could cause Manchester City a problem or two now. The start of this second half, it was all one way, wasn't it?
5 Live Sport, Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1. Tomorrow night we'll have a full preview of the FA Cup third round weekend as it kicks off with Manchester United against Everton. That's with Darren Fletcher in the Friday Football Social. And there'll be commentary on the Gloucester Saracens game on Sports Extra tomorrow evening. And then third round commentaries Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 5 Live Sports Extra starting at 12:30 on Saturday, when Gillingham Leicester will be on 5 Live, and Tottenham Portsmouth on Sports Extra, and Blackpool Nottingham Forest is the 3 o'clock commentary on what will be a hectic weekend. Are you FA Cupping this weekend, Chris? Are you 606ing?
I'm 606ing. I did my FA Cup predictions today, which are just so impossible, John, because you don't know with the Premier League teams and Championship teams which teams they're going to play.
But with predictions, you don't know. That's the.
But I'm supposed to be an expert. I think I could get every single one wrong this weekend.
Well, at the end of the day, you're guessing. You're guessing at what you think the score would be.
Educated guessing, John. I like to think of it as.
Well, Nathan Ake is waiting and waiting to take this throw. So Manchester City, conscious of the fact that Chelsea have improved in the match, a little bit of slowing the game down, and now Grealish, actually having conceded a free kick, kicks the ball away, and then Gallagher's running after the ball. Rodri got in the way, so Gallagher shoved him in the back. Rodri fell over, and it's a free kick to Chelsea inside their own half. Referee Tierney is just speaking to Gundogan, and he's telling him, referee Tierney is telling Gundogan that he needs to tell Ake not to waste time when he's taking a throw. And actually that's taken a little bit of time itself. He could have just told Ake that, couldn't he? next time he passed him by. 1-0 Manchester City lead. Riyad Mahrez, the goal scorer. That goal, by the way, was scored 3 minutes after the two of them came on, Grealish and Mahrez together. Mahrez's sixth goal of the season, so he's nowhere near last season's total when he was Manchester City's top scorer with his 24 goals in all competitions. But
it's sort of unfair, isn't it, the Manchester City bench? You know, and will that be the difference this season? You know, is their squad, do they have the edge over Arsenal, who look to be their biggest challengers? And I still wonder whether, you know, Pep would regret selling Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus to Arsenal.
yes, here's Lewis on the right-hand side for Manchester City. And then Mahrez, and back it comes to the halfway line. Yes, perhaps wasn't expecting them to be in the position that they found themselves, Arsenal and Arteta. February the 15th for that first meeting of the season. You'll hear it on 5 Live as Conor Gallagher, who is certainly putting himself about, has caught John Stones, his England World Cup colleague, as Stones was looking to pass it away, and Stones looks over his shoulder as he sits on the ground at Gallagher, as if to say, I'm not sure that was entirely necessary. And referee Tierney has gone across just to calm Gallagher down a little bit.
But do you know what? I think Gallagher has run around more in however many minutes he's been on than Aubameyang did in an hour.
It does rather look with Aubameyang as that's the classic one move too many at 33 years old, but you know, he might prove us wrong. Here's Mahrez playing the ball infield to Rodri, and back into the centre circle to Akanji. Akanji goes long and left-footed. No return for Laporte yet, by the way. Diaz is also out injured for Manchester City. And Mahrez and Lewis getting in one another's way, but De Bruyne is able to play it across low, but Thiago Silva is able to get a touch to it first. Only half cleared by Koulibaly. Chukwuemeka is back in there. Hall as well against Lewis. Thought he might have conceded a foul, Lewis. Hall on Lewis, but referee didn't give it, and then Koulibaly just thunders a ball away downfield, and Havertz almost unsettles John Stones, who's able to recover well. Gallagher slides and keeps the ball in play, and then John Stones arrives over there. Gallagher gets up, I think got a little bit of John Stones. It's played back into the City penalty area, and Conor Gallagher has succeeded in adding a little bit of chaos to this game, which is good for Chelsea. And now Zakaria takes it on through the middle for Chelsea. Hutchinson with a cross, left-footed, but that's overhit. Curls away from the run forward from Chukwuemeka and is through for a goal kick.
Yeah, I've got to say, John, absolutely nailed it. Conor Gallagher, just through endeavour, shutting the Manchester City players down there once with John Stones, kept the ball in on the right-hand side. Gallagher sliding to keep the ball in, and then up, makes another challenge. And these Chelsea fans, they still think something is there for this team because of that. That's as basic as it gets. Chelsea, 10 minutes to go, still in with a chance of getting something from this game.
They are. Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1. 5 Live Sport on air till 10:30 tonight, so we'll try and bring you the live interviews. But I think the throw over as City come forward down the right-hand side. The cross from Mahrez, but Thiago Silva's able to take that down, and now it's being brought away by Kovacic, but he's in danger. In fact, he was just caught there, so it's a free kick to Chelsea in front of their own penalty area. I think there could be quite a queue for interviews down below if that was right, about over 200 of accredited media being here tonight. But at the moment, I mean, they're losing this game, Chelsea, and clearly it's a match they wanted to win in the position that they're in. But if they are to lose it tonight, it's almost the best worst, isn't it? The way that it's gone this evening, just the one goal.
Yeah.
And you feel like, well, this is no way to look at it, but it could be an awful lot worse.
But then they've got Manchester City again at the weekend in the FA Cup.
Kovacic turning the ball over to the left-hand side, but beyond the run of Hall and out of play.
I mean, it's better, but you know, you've got to say, with what Chelsea have been doing over the last 20 whatever years, you know, on the ball, have they done enough to really hurt Manchester City tonight? Have they done enough this season? There's the basics there, the endeavour, the work rate shutting down since the young players have come on, but do they have the quality?
Grealish skips away from Hutchinson, but then overhits the pass through for either Gundogan or Haaland, and it's all the way through to goalkeeper Kepa, who passes it out. Haaland not on the score sheet this evening, might be just the 6th game this season in which Haaland has not scored for Manchester City.
Oh, you've gone early there, John.
I have gone early, but we're in the last 10 minutes. In fact, we've got 7 minutes to go. I did say could be. It's just an educated guess, that was all. Azpilicueta playing the ball back to goalkeeper Kepa. Puts his foot on it. Gallagher making the run through the middle. Here's the long pass from Kepa. The ball bounces down towards the right back position. Gallagher goes past Akanji and then went down. I'm not sure whether there was any contact. No, referee Thierry says there wasn't. Not enough for a free kick.
I like what he's done this evening, Conor Gallagher. Giving Chelsea a bit of belief, but he goes down too easily there, John.
Could be a contender there.
Yeah, he's better than that, Conor Gallagher.
He's a contender for the simulation game.
He is.
Tune in Sunday night, Conor.
There's always one.
Yes. Will there be one on Sunday night? Yes, there is, isn't there? Yes. The Liverpool-Wolves match is late on Saturday. Kepa, long and forward. And then it's headed out of play for a throw-in to Chelsea.
I think John Stones has been excellent tonight. You think a couple of the challenges he made in that first half when Manchester City weren't at their best, really so important.
Chelsea with the ball inside their own half. Izzy Christiansen will be joining us again for the last half hour of 5 Live Sport tonight. 1-0 Manchester City lead. Ake, well, that's a poor header. He's got that all wrong, got underneath it. Hutchinson then is onto it. Chelsea halfway inside Manchester City territory. It would be quite a thing for Chelsea if they're able to get something out of this. Hutchinson on his debut, his first senior competitive appearance for Chelsea. Now Kovacic through the middle to Havertz, and back to Zakaria. Chelsea go back to Thiago Silva. Taps the ball to his left to Koulibaly. Hall is out there on the left-hand side for Chelsea. Nice change of feet from him. Gets away from Mahrez and then turns back to the halfway line. Again, appreciative applause from the Chelsea supporters. Thiago Silva back in the centre circle. Thiago Silva, with all of the youngsters coming on, he's old enough to be quite a number of them's father, as it's given away. And Havertz actually is fouled. Manchester City thought they were away.
Rodri's gone down, yeah.
Is down as well. I think that's cramp, isn't it? I'm no medic, as we found out earlier in the programme, although I think I was right about Sterling's hamstring.
Yeah, well, maybe there's another career there for you, John, eventually.
Yeah, there is.
Chelsea, second half, though, Ederson had very little work to do. Calvin Phillips getting stripped ready to come on. It'll be for Rodri.
So Calvin Phillips, who's not played since he came back from the World Cup. I'm sure everyone will be aware that Pep Guardiola suggested that he'd come back from the World Cup a little overweight. And
I think a few of us did, John.
Speak for yourself. As Guardiola gives him a pass on the backside, and he's ready to come onto the field, Calvin Phillips, for what actually is only his 5th appearance for the Manchester City first team, with the injury that he had. Remember, the shoulder operation that he recovered from just in time for the World Cup. Rodri is taking all his time to get off the field, and actually Cesar Azpilicueta is trying to shove him off the field, which would be a feat in itself. Rodri and Phillips is on, so that's all 5 substitutions for Manchester City. 1-0 Pep Guardiola's team lead, so they'll be narrowing the gap to 5 points, but they're struggling to get the ball away here, and it's bounced back to Ederson, who's cleared it from his 6-yard box. The 3 points tonight would move them, Manchester City, to 39 points, so they'd be 5 points behind Arsenal with 17 league matches played this season. But as you said, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves yet, still with over 3 minutes of this match to play, and Chelsea having asked 1 or 2 questions of City. Hutchinson heads it back to Koulibaly, and then Ake jumps for it, gets a second header forward to Grealish, who flicks it on, but that'll bounce all the way through to Kepa. Haaland looks to close him down, so Kepa picks it up, and City are saying that was a back pass to Kepa. Anyway, referee Tierney's ignored it.
The question is, how are Chelsea, or who is going to create that opportunity for Chelsea? Is it going to have to be a Manchester City error?
Ake, as you said that, passing the ball back to Ederson, but his touch was sure with his left foot.
He's the best out there, isn't he, with the ball at his feet, Ederson.
Yeah, Brazil's number 2 at the World Cup, though, Alisson, was preferred to him. I think he possibly has the edge, Alisson.
Not with his feet, John?
Not with his feet. Not with his feet. I think it is raining now here in West London, as Kepa passes the ball out from the back to Azpilicueta, who's away from Grealish, playing it infield to Zakaria. That's good from Chelsea, Zakaria and Kovacic. Oh, excellent again from Zakaria, with sky blue shirts all around him, curls the ball out to Chukwuemeka on the left-hand side. Chukwuemeka now advancing deep into Manchester City territory, gives it to Hall. Now back to Kovacic, closer to the halfway line, square to Zakaria. Zakaria to Havertz, and then Zakaria again, long, leggy individual. Kovacic to the fair-haired Hall, now just outside the left corner of the box. Oh, excellent from Hall. Beat Phillips. Hall's ball across, took a deflection towards the penalty spot, but Grealish was there to clear it away for Manchester City. Ahead of Azpilicueta, but now Hutchinson for Chelsea. Hutchinson on his debut. Crosses, comes off Ake. Very optimistic shouts for a handball against Ake, and actually Manchester City are away on the counter-attack here. Grealish went down rather easily, and actually Kovacic is going to be yellow carded for that. There must have been a little tug there. Yellow card for Kovacic, which I think actually is the first booking of the match, isn't it? Yes, it is.
Yeah, Grealish does well. Sees Kovacic coming, lovely reverse ball from Kevin De Bruyne into Grealish's path. And he just wins the free kick. Jack Grealish, good play from Hall though, decisive play down that left-hand side.
He's a talent, isn't he?
He is. Lovely feet and firing the ball across. I think it was Akanji right place at the right time to make the clearance.
So 1-0 Manchester City lead. Lewis Hall, as I say, it's only his 4th appearance for the first team, and this season he's played against Manchester City twice and against Newcastle, so he'll have easier challenges than the ones that he's faced so far in his senior career.
I've got to say, a lot of the Chelsea support don't believe they'll get back in this. They are leaving in their droves.
Well, difficulties of course with public transport as well. I can understand that people might want to feel that they've got to make a move, but most are staying and watching this right to the end. 4 minutes of added time. Chelsea have got 4 minutes to get something out of this. Otherwise, for Chelsea, despite this improved effort as the second half has gone on, it will be 4 defeats in their last 6 Premier League matches, and they will remain 10 points off 4th place, those Champions League places, which is what it's all about now for Chelsea in the Premier League this season. Got the Champions League to come. Borussia Dortmund, having won their group there, remember. Kovacic playing it forward to Chukwuemeka. Hall's available on the left-hand side. Chukwuemeka's taking it on, then he gives it to Hall on his left foot. Oh, he's blazed it wide of the near post. He had options in the middle. Gallagher was there, Havertz was there, Hutchinson was there as well. But Hall went for glory and it didn't come off.
Do you know what though? I think he did the right thing. It's a poorly timed challenge from Calvin Phillips, who inadvertently pops the ball to Chukwuemeka, who drives 30-40 yards. Hall on the overlap on the left-hand side. Takes the ball left-footed. It's a decent enough first touch. Ederson narrows the angle. and it's high and wide from Lewis Hall. Graham Potter applauds it, but I think that would have been the chance he would have wanted. Lewis Hall just couldn't take it.
Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1.
Got to hit the target there. Work Ederson though. Lewis Hall.
2.5 minutes of added time to play. That might have been last chance for Chelsea in this match. They will meet again on Sunday. 5 Live, the place to hear that. In amongst all of those other FA Cup commentaries on Saturday, Sunday and Monday. Pep Guardiola comes out in that big thick polo neck and jumps up and down with his arms in the air as Conor Gallagher heads the ball on. Havertz tried to head it to Hutchinson. Kovacic then in on the challenge with Calvin Phillips. Chukwuemeka though is in there for Chelsea, and here's Hall again. Hall square to Gallagher. Gallagher, fair hair bobbing. Plays the ball actually just behind Chukwuemeka, who's able to keep it in play. Gallagher then makes a run into the full-back position. There may be one more chance for Chelsea. Gallagher with Phillips in on the challenge, and out it goes for a throw-in to Chelsea. 7 or 8 yards back from the corner flag. We've got less than 90 seconds of the 90 minutes plus added time to play. Koulibaly, after Chelsea take the throw, back it goes into the centre circle. Thiago Silva to the right of the centre circle. Those Chelsea fans still inside Stamford Bridge, urging them forward. Hall turns and gives it back to Koulibaly. Groans from the home supporters. Koulibaly long and cross-field. Hutchinson takes this down on his left foot. Ake, though, is right there with him, so Hutchinson has to go back to Thiago Silva. 50 seconds to go of added time. Chelsea still with it on the halfway line. Koulibaly to Hall. Hall then carries it forward. Chukwuemeka is out there as well. Chukwuemeka into Kovacic. Kovacic back to Chukwuemeka. No, that was intercepted by Phillips, and now Mahrez runs it away. He's blocked blatantly by Koulibaly, and that's a free kick to Manchester City. And a yellow card for Koulibaly, Chelsea's first of the match. Second of the match after Kovacic.
That will be it. I think now Mahrez did well. Saw Koulibaly coming. Koulibaly had committed and just popped the ball around him. Koulibaly couldn't let him run past him, otherwise it would have been a 2v1 situation. And it's job done, I think, for Manchester City. They haven't been at the best, especially in the first half. I thought they were really poor, but subs have made the difference. And that's a big 3 points.
Yeah, Grealish set it up for Mahrez in the 64th minute. And there is the final whistle at Stamford Bridge. Cheers from the Manchester City supporters. Big win for them. They move to within 5 points of the leaders, Arsenal. They've beaten Chelsea 4 times in a row, for the first time actually. And for Chelsea now, that is 4 defeats in their last 6 Premier League matches and 1 win in their last 8 in the league. But will they take heart from the way that they responded in the match, Chris?
Do you know what? It's such a difficult one. Did Chelsea play well? I think they did in the first half. Second half, I thought they were overrun. But is this the Chelsea which Chelsea fans really want to see, where we're applauding them for their effort? I think Chelsea over the last 20 years have, been a team who have won big trophies, and they look miles off it. I think the question is, how much can Todd Bowley tolerate? And Chelsea go to Manchester City at the weekend, don't they, in the FA Cup? If they go out there, I just wonder whether, the Chelsea fans applauding their team and their efforts, but whether they'll view this as a job too big for Graham Potter.
So Manchester City's players are going to their supporters. There are big celebrations there. That was hard fought in the end for Manchester City, and Chelsea's players begin to leave the field. They've lost twice this season, Chelsea, here at Stamford Bridge, both by 1-0 to Arsenal and Manchester City, the top 2. So that's it in the Premier League. They will meet again in Manchester on Sunday in the FA Cup. But tonight, Chelsea 0, Manchester City 1, the final score. And Gigi Salmon's here with us high up in the East Stand at Stamford Bridge.
Just looking down at those Manchester City supporters, and credit to them with all the travel disruptions from getting here this evening. Actually, credit to all the fans who have made their way here to Stamford Bridge. And as John said, the fans applauding the players applauding the fans. There's a handful, a smattering of Chelsea players still remaining out there on the Bridge pitch applauding their fans. But what it does for Man City, well, it's mission accomplished this evening. It gets them back to winning ways. It cuts that gap to Arsenal at the top to 5. It keeps the pressure on. Man City, they've avoided defeat in the last 43 matches when scoring the opening goals in the Premier League. That's a run that dates back to the 18th of May 2021. For Chelsea, a 6th league defeat of the season that keeps them 10th in the table, and that's the same amount of defeats from the whole of last season in the league. And incredible stat, they're the same number of points, Chris, away from the top 4 as they are from the bottom 3.
Yeah, and I mean, let's get it right. It's a difficult pre-season for Chelsea, and noises that, you know, coming out that Thomas Tuchel wasn't happy. He ended up leaving. Difficult for Graham Potter to come in, but this is a Chelsea team who simply aren't doing well enough. They've spent a fortune. You feel for Graham Potter in terms of key players being out tonight. You know, Mount, Chilwell, James, Sterling having to come off early on. But it isn't good enough. And look, I don't think anybody expected Chelsea to win this game tonight. But this is a Chelsea side who aren't the team which they once were. And it's just how long will Todd Boehly give Graham Potter? You know, I think it's so difficult to see where this is going. You know, is Todd Boehly going to be really patient with Graham Potter? I'm not so sure he is.
Yeah, I think least worst scenario tonight. If you're going to lose the game, it is the least worst scenario. But as Chris rightly says, that's not good enough for Chelsea because of what they've become used to and what their standing is in the game.
Yeah, there was a recent poll that was carried out. Fans were asked if they think Chelsea will qualify for Europe next season, and overwhelmingly they said no. Now, coming in for an awful lot of stick on social media is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Came on the 5th minute. He was substituted in the 68th minute this evening. His numbers from this evening: 14 touches, 10 passes completed, 1 duel won, 1 touch in the opposition box, 1 foul committed, and no shots. The shirtless Plantain show says Oba has the body language of a tourist, and Gluck says I'll never understand Aubameyang back in the Premier League and why Chelsea paid for him. Can anybody explain that? And something else that's doing the rounds out there, Chris, is people saying the last time Chelsea were in a tricky position, and that was when they had the transfer ban. They had to rely on the youth, they had to rely on the academy, and they stepped up, and they did step up for Chelsea. And a lot of people saying we saw that triple substitution in the 69th minute. Is that what Chelsea need to do now?
I mean, it's a really interesting debate, but you know, with the greatest respect to the players who came on, they gave them more energy, more urgency, and you know, they got the Chelsea crowd up. But you know, as John said, and as I've said numerous times this evening, Chelsea have been a club over the last 20 years who have competed and won the biggest of trophies. You know, are these young kids, Conor Gallagher, you know, not such a young kid anymore, but Lewis Hall and Hutchison coming on, are they going to, you know, win Chelsea a Premier League? Certainly not this season, and they may be great players in years to come. But Chelsea have always demanded, or the owners always demanded, virtually instant success. That makes them a different club to most. So look, when Frank Lampard took charge, I think in that situation, I think a lot of Chelsea fans cut him some slack because, you know, they couldn't bring players in and they were happy to see the young players go through. And that's all right, that model in theory, but because of the demands at this club, you know, Chelsea want to win trophies. Now, are they going to do that with, you know, Hutchison, Hall and development players? I don't think so. So Chelsea need to work out which team, which club they actually are. I think, you know, all things being equal, you look at the serious money which they've spent in the summer, more money spent again today on a young centre-half. They want instant success, don't they? Because otherwise, why would you chuck all that money at it?
But if they are going to spend a king's ransom again this month, and they've already given the indication that they are preparing to do that, so however many players come in, whatever the quality of them, and you'd think they'd be high quality, and then they've lost Sterling and Pulisic tonight. You get James, Kante, Fofana, Chilwell, Loftus-Cheek, Breuer's on the injured list as well. If they're all then available to Graham Potter, then it's a different question altogether then as to what he's able to get out of that group.
Yeah, it's such a shame for Graham Potter, those players. I mean, it's sod's law in many respects, isn't it, for him? Because there are players, we've mentioned Aubameyang, you know, he looked like he didn't want to be here this evening, and you know, he's not the only one. Cucurella, they've spent an absolute fortune on him. He looks, you know, well short for a Chelsea team who, you know, want to go on and win trophies. You know, I wonder whether Graham Potter's thinking, you know, how can I play Aubameyang again in a Chelsea jersey after how woeful he was. You know, you know, I'm always wary to criticise players for lack of effort and poor body language, but Aubameyang absolutely epitomised that. I thought he was woeful and hopeless and didn't give anywhere near enough, looked disinterested, and I suspect Graham Potter will be thinking, blimey, you know, he's never going to play in a Chelsea jersey again under me.